Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Hold on a second, guys. I got to put that box down. It's just so big. Package that I got from Lowa today. I've never had anything from Lowa shoes before, but we'll unbox that in a little bit. But just for now, it's just taking up so much space on the table, and I needed some more room so I could say hi to you guys. It is Friday. We made it to the weekend, guys. September 22nd, 2023, 92223. I like that. I like the ring of that. That sounds nice. Fresh out of the shower again. Just got back from my run. Today I was running a little bit late because I'm trying to get ahead on videos for next week. So next week I'm going to be gone. So it's a reminder, no live streams or podcasts at all next week because I'll be in Italy with Adidas Eyewear, and I won't be able to have any live streams because I'll be running in the mountains or traveling, and I think I'll be spending more time traveling than I will be running in the mountains. But I think it'll all be worth it based on some of the footage and imagery that I've been seeing over on Instagram and Threads. Really excited about that. But usually these days when I'm leaving for a trip, I try to still have regular YouTube videos come out while I'm gone. So right now I'm just about buttoning up the Triumph 21 RFG video that'll come out on Monday. And then I think on Thursday, I'll be ready to have the Prime X2 Strung video. So got that coming up for you guys as well. And yeah, I think I'm going to try to also have like 3 videos ahead. So like a week and a half worth of videos, because when I come back, I'll be tired and I'll have all this footage to get through, and I'm sure I'm not going to want to work on another shoe video right away, but I think I'm going to try to get the 1080 version 13 video guys for you too. So that's what the next 3 videos I think that are coming up. So, all right. Cheryl Ross says, no live stream. So should we look for the Chicago Shakeout link in your Instagram account, or will you post a link in the KRC first when you get back from your trip? Ooh, that's a good question. And I have been talking about how I want to post the link for the pizza shakeout, which I haven't posted yet. I have the Friday meet and greet. There's also a shakeout component to that too, but the Friday meet and greet, that's already been posted. That's in my Instagram. I told you guys that I would, I'll give it to you guys first. But if I don't get that link before I leave on Sunday, I mean, today's the last live stream. I don't have the link yet. Let me check my email real quick, make sure I don't have it. But if I don't, I will put it on the Kofuzi Run Club Strava first. And then, no, doesn't look like I have one. Okay. So yeah. So I'll post it as a community post on YouTube, Kofuzi Run Club Strava, and also in Instagram. So those will be like the places. Is there any other places that you guys are here on YouTube? Strava, Kofuzi Run Club group, Instagram. Is there any major places that I need to go? Like, you guys let me know in the chat over here. All right. Before we get any further though, we're already diving in, but before we get any further, I do want to say hi to everyone listening on the podcast on the audio only version. Hopefully you guys are having a good run today. Today this weather, it's been really wet here in the Midwest in Crystal Lake. Every day it's either has been raining or just finished raining. And so it's just been super humid for all of my runs. So even though the temperature's not so hot, it was a little bit uncomfortable for my run today. I had an easy run, but it's a route that I don't love because it's an out and back. And when I come back, it's all uphill. So like the last 3 miles are like slightly uphill. So that's kind of hard. I don't love that route. But I had reasons to pick that route today that ultimately ended up not working. I was going to go film something else while I was over in that area, and then I ran out of time. So that's okay. Hopefully, if you're listening to this on your podcast, hopefully that's not what's happening to you guys. Hopefully you're having a nice and pleasant run on a Saturday morning, or maybe a Friday night. And for everyone else watching this later but not live, welcome to the number one place to eat oatmeal before you poop and then go on your long run on a Saturday. Welcome. All right, let's see who else we have in there in the chat. We got Daniel Burton said, he had a 2-mile run and 3 miles on the bike for perfect weather in Colorado. That sounds really nice. Speaking of Colorado, not far from Greeley, Colorado, my friend, you guys know Drew Whitcomb, right? Drew sent me a photo yesterday. He's in Denver, I think I think he's visiting BOA. And so he's there, and he must have gone into a running store for some reason. And he sent me a picture of sorry, I just knocked over a box. He sent me a picture of the running store, has a TV on the wall, and they were playing one of my videos. And he's like, you're on TV here in Denver. And I was like, I'm on TV in Denver. Like, what did I do? But no, it was because the running shop was playing my YouTube video. So that was pretty cool. I was pretty happy about that. Sega Dreamcast says, yo, what's going on? Ran my furthest since my injury back in June. Awesome. And even through some threshold miles in the middle of it. Feel great, and I'm excited to be recovering right as fall kicks in. Well, that's great to hear. That's awesome. Calvin says, I shared this with Shannon, but Walmart is now selling their own higher-end electrolytes, $6 for 6 packets, 500 milligrams of sodium, 370 milligrams of potassium, and decent vitamin B also? What's it called? I don't know that I'll go to Walmart today because I got other places I got to go because I didn't get to film that thing I needed to film earlier. But I'm going to have to look into that. Sean Devlin says, hey, everyone, easy 6 today. He says his doc's ordering MRI on the foot. Not sure that's going to yield a ton of good info, but whatever. Well, I mean, hopefully it could, hopefully you just keep ruling stuff out that it's not, and then you can figure out what it is. Mark Peterson says, hi, all. Missed yesterday due to the baby's doctor appointment. Glad to be back. Well, it's good to have you back, Mark. And you know what? You know what's very easy to forget once your kids are not babies anymore? It's easy to forget just how often you got to take that baby back to the doctor. Like, they want well baby checkups like so much. I mean, it's great because then it's good. You check in with the doctor and it's nice and reassuring to have a doctor tell you everything's going well. But like, man, there was so many appointments. There were so many. Now it's just like, we'll see him once a year, I guess. All right. Looks like you guys are talking about, Rob DeGennaro says, hey, Co, Takumi Sens are too narrow for me. What would be your second choice for a speed day shoe? They feel very different, but another speed day shoe that I've just been absolutely loving is the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. Another one to think about is the Topo Cyclone 2. That one is like a full piece. Yeah, so that's a good one to look into. Did you guys see today in some shoe news? I saw on Running Warehouse that Altra is finally making a shoe that is not zero drop or a balanced midsole, as they call it. It's called the Ultra Forward, Ultra FWD, which I'm like, Ultra, is that a pun? Because it's a 4 millimeter drop. I don't understand why they so I saw Running Warehouse's video. It gives you a quick look about it. And like my comment was like, finally, I've been saying for years that there's no reason why Ultra can't have a not zero drop shoe. That was a double negative. There's no reason why there shouldn't be a non-zero drop shoe in the Ultra lineup, especially when like the Ultra Bros, which is a weird thing to say, but like the Ultra Bros are always like, oh, if you're going to come to a zero drop shoe and you're coming from a 10 millimeter drop shoe, you're going to have to transition first. There should be an Ultra shoe called the Transition. I never understood why there isn't. But there is now finally at least an Ultra Forward. It's FWD, I believe. Ultra FWD. I'm not sure. I think that's what it's called. But it's a 4 millimeter drop shoe. And I feel like that's great. Awesome. Eliza says, what? Ultra? No, Ultra. You don't want Ultra to have a non-zero drop shoe? I feel like that's a great. I think it's great for Ultra to do that. There's nothing about Ultra that requires them. Ultra's thing has been wide, like foot-shaped shoes. You know what I mean? That's their thing, right? If Ultra was all of a sudden like, we're only going with like Nike Narrow race fit shoes, then I'd be like, I don't even know what you guys are doing anymore, you know? But like, there's nothing in that has to be zero drop, you know? So that's where I feel about it. Calvin says Ultra fans are dropping to their knees in Whole Foods as we speak. Is this going to be that controversial? I don't think this is that controversial at all. Sleeve Singer wants to know, will the shoes still look like caveman feet though? Yes, they will. It looks like it's on the same last as the Escalante. Although, who was it? I don't know who the other guy's name is. Always forget his name. But not Connor, but the other guy that was talking about it says that the upper reminded him of the upper on the Tauren. Which for me was like, I've never liked the Tauren, so I don't know. AJ says Ultra has crap reviews, so no one's gonna care anyhow. Man, Ultra is one of those brands that I'm rooting for. I really want them to do well. I remember a long time ago, I picked up a pair of the Escalante 2.5s. Instantly fell in love with that shoe. It was fantastic. By the way, I did not need any transitional period to get into the zero drop of the Escalante 2.5. And then I tried the Superior. Also, I think it was the 4.5. Also loved that shoe. The Tauren I tried to like, never really got along with the Tauren. And then the Vanish Carbon, really fun shoe to run in. So I've enjoyed a variety of Ultra shoes, and I really want them to do better. But I feel like they've had a couple of things that, like, for me have been kind of like missteps. Like, I can understand the math between not doing kid shoes anymore, although I feel like it was the wrong time to. It's unfortunate that their financials are in a position where they had to make that decision, is what I think. I'm not saying it's a bad time to make that decision, but I just feel like it kind of sucks for them because they've been making kid shoes for so long. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with, because like now they're like, we're not updating our shoes every year. We're going to be on a 2-year update cycle. They're under new ownership, so I'm just like I'm like not sure what's going on there. Hopefully, this is the start of a turnaround. You know what I mean? That's what I hope. And Michite says, no, I may try Ultra. I feel like it's gonna be. I hope it's not a stability shoe, and I hope it's not a light stability shoe, kind of like the Tauren is, where they snuck something in underneath the arch of the shoe. I just hope it's just like an Escalante with a 4mm drop. It better be, otherwise I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. Stevie76 says they had an Adios Evo 1, which I was listening to the Believe in the Run podcast. The full name of that shoe is Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1. On display there was one on display at the Berlin Marathon, and Stevie took a picture of it. Nice. Brent Steen says, sock recommendations. Bandit are my current daily, but they're a bit tight. Any faves? Thanks. So some of the Bandit socks are so tight. I don't like some of them. The really thick ones, they're too tight. It takes me a really long. I can get the rest of myself dressed in the amount of time it takes to put those socks on sometimes, and to take them off, it's like it hurts my feet to take them off because to get around the ankle, it's just too tight. Some of them I really like though. There's the Bandit member socks. Those are really nice. Those I love. They're the ones with the red stripe down the back, black ones with the red stripe. Those are great. But I've also been really, just generally, I love Stan socks and Darn Tough. Those are kind of like my two favorites. But like Bandit's been making some of their other, it's hit or like the thinner ones I like. The thicker ones I'm not as big a fan of. And Say Sky has some really fun socks that I've been enjoying lately too. Excuse me. Oh, I had to sneeze there. All right, let me keep scrolling down, you guys. Sue Ann says, my one pair of Ultras was too long and rubbed my heel the wrong way. Now they're also narrower. Off of my to try list now. So one of the things that Ultra did, I think, as part of like the revamp once they got acquired. I don't know when they got acquired, but like in the past couple of years, they've started switching some things up. They've added a colorist, so that's why the designs look a little bit different now. Then they've also kind of like changed up their lineup to explain it. I think they've always kind of had it this way, but they're explaining it in different ways. One, they stopped saying the phrase zero drop because it was too off-putting to a lot of people. But like that's what they call balanced cushion, same in the heel as in the forefoot. That's another thing that happened in the last couple of years. I think as part of like the rebranding of Ultra. I know. And anyway, and then the third thing they did was 3 different foot shapes. There's regular, like I think the Escalante is regular. They're wide, like roomier, which is like the Lone Peak, which I didn't love the Lone Peak. It was too roomy for me. And then the narrow, which is like the Vanish Carbon, which for me is like perfect. So Shannon says 2020, 2021 is when Ultra lost me. And that's when they started making all those changes. Oh, man. Sean says, Team Injinji. Some of the hardest part of my run is getting the socks on. You know what? The Injinji socks are hard to get on, but I do like them quite a bit. I had a pair of low cut ones that I used to wear in the summer all the time. I lost one of the pair, like one of the two, and now I just have this one that's like mocking me. I haven't been able to wear the Injinjis. I have a longer pair of Injinji ones that I wear in the winter, but the short ones, yeah. All right. We actually have some running questions today. I love it. Moby wants to know, any tips for someone who isn't a morning person and do you usually eat something before you run in the mornings? I would say if you're not a morning person, but you're trying to do morning runs, don't let anyone else tell you what to do. You got to figure out you first. Like if you're not a morning person and like getting up early so you can have a bowl of oatmeal and wait enough amount of time before you can digest the oatmeal and then go for a run. If all of that is a stumbling block for you to be able to get out there and get an easy 60 minutes, skip it. See how you feel. If you feel miserable, because then bring a gel. And if that's not going to cut it for you, then maybe you got to start working back and like, all right, I've gotten up and out the door now. Now do I feel better when I'm up and out the door? You know what I mean? First things first, People are very worried about like, making it perfect. Just get out the door first. That's the thing that would buy me a tip. And some other ways to help that. I forget who I was listening to. I want to say, was it on Believe in the Run? Giving running tips on their podcast? There's usually just so much nonsense on there, which I love. But like, I think it was them. They were talking about like stuff like, no, I don't think it was them. I think it was someone else. Stuff like, pick out your running clothes the night before, pick out your running shoes the night before, and have them ready. So you don't have to like wake up and think about it. Because a lot of times for me, when I do that, I get up, I have my coffee, I'm looking at my phone, then I'm like, oh, which shoes should I pick? What clothes should I wear? What's the weather? And then it's like, oh, well, that took 20 minutes. Now I have to cut my run short because I have 20 minutes left to run. So like, streamline it, work on getting out the door first, and then figure out all the rest of the stuff later. That's how I would do it. Raisin says, any tips for making a schedule to balance training, running, family life, and work? Trying to get used to 4 a.m. wake up again to fit in runs, or maybe workouts before work, then runs after 9 p.m. after kids' bed. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out what works for you. Running at 9 p.m. does not work for me. I'd rather wake up at 4 a.m. and have to do that. I've been finally figures 2 days before I have to leave to go back to Europe and switch time zones again. But finally, after all the travel from the summer, I feel like I'm back onto my normal schedule where I've been waking up like 4:30 to 4:45. Just take some time to get used to the schedule, but you got to find out what works for you. But I think that the other thing is, like, my tip for making a schedule for fitting everything in is be flexible. The schedule, well, 2 things. Be flexible, because sometimes family life and work are going to be much more important, like in an urgency perspective, than running and training. And sometimes running and training can become more urgent, like, peak week before a marathon, and you can move things off the back burner, not to the back burner. You know what I mean? So like everyone thinks about work-life balance as like literal like balance, like a yoga pose. But I feel like work-life balance is more of like shifting. When can you shift things to take your full attention, and when can you move them? When is it okay to move them back, and mastering the shifting around of things? That's, for me, that's work-life balance. The other thing is, to help you figure out that work-life balance thing, is first things first. What is the most important, urgent thing first? Put that at the beginning of the day. That's how surgeons work. Most important, most difficult surgery at the beginning of the day. The things that you really need to get done that day, put that first. If you can. Sometimes things can't be time shifted. But like, if you can, put that first. So for me, if I have a hard time with running after work, because then I'm tired and I'm hungry and maybe I really feel like having a beer at dinner, like that becomes like really hard for me to run later, but I really want the run. So put that first. I can move that in the beginning of the day. So first things first. And the thing that's first isn't always going to be the same, I guess. Does that make sense? I'm getting pretty preachy today. Sorry. Dan Finn says, I'm doing a shakeout with Slow AF today in Michigan. Have you read his book? Thoughts? I did read the book. It was very good. And I also had him as a guest on the live stream about a month after his book came out, because he was busy on the book tour. I tried to get him earlier, but he was like, dude, I'm too busy for you. So he came on eventually, and it was really good to talk to Martinez. I met him for the first time last December in Austin in TRE. And since then, we've kind of been keeping in touch and stuff like that. So it's been good. I really enjoyed his book. Parts of it like really aren't for me as someone who's been running for a little while. And I understood that, I really enjoyed the stories about Martinez. And then when I had him on the live stream, I was able to talk about, like, ask him questions, because I was like, I need more origin story. I'm like, how did this happen? How did you get from I ran a marathon once to now I have a run club? And I have a run club to now we're putting on our own virtual events. Like, how did all that happen? So like those are the kinds of things that were more interesting to me from the book. So hopefully he writes a second book and we can get deeper into like the behind the scenes, because his book was a lot more like a how-to rather than with personal stories rather than a personal memoir kind of thing. So it was a little bit different than what I would have loved, but I think he wrote the book that he needed to write. So, and I hope it's selling well still. Let me scroll down a little bit. Sleeve Singer says, I ask Alexa, in terms of getting ready for the run the next day, she says, I ask Alexa what the temp will be the next day, lay my clothes out during the night before, go to bed, then in the AM, put on my running clothes, walk the dogs to warm up the legs, and then I'm off. See, there you go. Bam, bam, bam. No decision making, that helps you get out the door. I like that. In terms of work-life balance, Adam said, I put running goals on hold when my kids were young. The first year after my twins were born, I had more 0 and single-digit mile weeks than he had weeks of miles over 10. And he didn't start ramping up until they were 2+. That is a very tough time. It's kind of related to what we were talking about with Mark Peterson and his the well baby visits. I'm assuming it was a well baby visit. I hope it was a well baby visit, Mark. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff when they're that young. And with twins, I feel like I didn't have twins, but twins run in my wife's family. And we were convinced that we were going to have twins at some point. And like my take on twins is like, oh, that's like, it's exponentially more difficult. It's not like, now I got 2 babies. I feel like it's exponentially more difficult. I mean, Adam, you could tell me if I'm wrong on that or not, but that's always been my take. And I was kind of like petrified that we were going to have, when we had our second, I was like, like we were thinking like a second child, that would be perfect. Then the 4 of us will still fit in this condo. It'll be great, and I'm like, oh, everything's working out really so well that I'm sure we're going to have multiples for our next one. But it turned out we just had the one, and it was perfect. But then there is part of me that's like, I don't know, twins are fun. I just think that would have been kind of cool. But, no regrets or anything for me. But having 2 at the same time. One of our neighbors that lives kind of catty corner, she's got 3 kids, and I think the oldest one like got out of diapers fairly recently. And I'm just like, oh, she's got to be so tired. And she's a runner. I see her run around the neighborhood. She runs with double like those rings people put right up below their knees because I think that's for shin splints. She runs with double those on, and I'm just like, man, good on her. She's getting in the run she can. But I'm like, she's got to be tired because having 3 young ones at once. So I mean, this whole neighborhood, all the parents have young kids. There's like every year you like drive around the subdivision. Not every year, not like that we've been that long, but like we drive around the subdivision, and not that we drive around. When we drive around, we see it. There's the things that people put in, like, home of a such and such high school graduate. There's like one. There was one last year, and I think there'll be like one this year. But like, in terms of like small children, like there is like a gaggle of like preschool and kindergarten age kids in the neighborhood. There's just so many. It's interesting. All right. Mark says, for this babies, it's just a 4-month checkup and some vaccines. Nice. Well, I'm glad everything's going well. All right. Ellie Dura says, running shoe question. Fast shoe, no blight, and more the stable side of neutral. Think lower stack Super Blast. I'd say Topo Cyclone 2. There's not a lot of fast, no blight shoes. So that like really narrows things down quickly. First thing I'm going to say is that maybe Hyperion Max. That's another one that I think you could look at. Those are 2 that jump out at me at the top of my head. In related news, I did request from I haven't responded yet. Not that I expect them to respond right away. It doesn't mean anything. I just sent out the email this morning. But I did request that they send me a Sinister. That is their, low stack height. I think it's 28 millimeters. Power on PB, no plate racing shoe. So I think it's a 4 millimeter drop. I'm really looking forward to that one because you know what? Guess how? I was looking at the shoe as I was requesting it, just to make sure that like before I requested it, like I wanted to look on the website to be like, if I wanted to buy it, can I just buy it? Because I don't want to request like a shoe that's like sold out. I probably would have still requested anyway, but then it at least helps me like set expectations for myself. But so it looks like there's plenty of shoes left there, and I can always buy it if they're like, we don't have any to give away to reviewers because it's been out for a little while. But the shoe weighs 139 grams, 1 gram more than the Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1. 1 gram more. It's amazing. So I'm like super excited to try that shoe. Stevie76 says, you got by zone defense with 3 kids. Yeah. Here's the thing that I've noticed. My mother-in-law comes from a large farming family. She's one of 9 siblings, I want to say. My father-in-law also comes from a very large family. My wife is one of 4 siblings. So like I've been observing the dynamics of a lot of larger families. My family's not that, like we're immigrants. So like there was like the 4 of us, but like I've been watching the dynamics of some of these larger families. And there's definitely, you're like, oh, well, how do you deal with 4 kids or 5 kids? One of our neighbors has 6 down the street. He also coaches soccer. That's not that that's related, but then, at least you could bring all the kids and put them on a soccer team. But it seems like after 3, by the time you get to like 4, then the oldest starts kind of watching after some of the kids too. You rely heavier on the oldest ones, whether that's fair or not, whatever. But that's what it seems like. So I feel like as long as you and your partner can figure out 2-on-3 defense, I think you'll be all right. My mother-in-law always says that there's a lot of talk about kids today. Just so we're very clear, my wife and Aaron are not gonna have any more kids, but my mother-in-law always says like going from 1 to 2 kids was hard. Going from 2 kids to any more than 2 kids is just another can of water in the soup, which I always thought was very, like a very, like a, not tactile, but a very real world, almost tangible poetry to that. I always like that. There's a lot of like layers to it. You know what I mean? All right. Adam says for the Berlin weather, low of 52, a high of 68. That's a little warm. But if they're running at 52, that's still going to be good race weather. I mean, and for the elites, they'll be done way before it gets to hit 68. But if there's I do feel like Kipchoge's kryptonite is water when the ground is wet. So, yeah. So as long as it's dry, I think it'll be all right. Gundam Zaku says, notice a missing shoe on your shelf with a smiley face emoji. And he goes, never mind, there's a few missing. Yeah, so I just filmed the Triumph 21 video. And so I'm like, so that's the Triumph 20 partner. There's like one of the Boston 12s is there. I think that was the 1080 version 13 Hyperion Max. I ran in the Solomon Aero Glides today. So that's where those shoes all are. All right. Let's get to the box. Got a package here from Lowa. You know what I just noticed? The reason why this box isn't like fitting on the screen normally and why it feels like it's taking up a weird amount of space, an awkward amount of space, is because I messed around with this camera and the tripod to film something yesterday. Normally, I never touch the height of that one, and I never adjusted it back down. So that's why you're not seeing like the desk like we normally do. Not that that's that important, but I'm only saying that more for me. Yeah. Calvin says, my wife wants one more kid. Emotionally, I do too, but financially, it's a lot to consider. Of course, the disruption in our semi-stable life now that my daughter has passed 2 years. Yeah, I warned my wife, like, if we're gonna go with 3, don't let me get out of diapers, because if I get rid of the diaper bag, I'm not going back. And then since then, we've had conversations about it, and I'm like, how long have we been diaper free? Think about how easy it is for us to move around. I cannot go back. I won't live like that again. So now we're just talking about whether or not we should get a dog. But yeah, I just remember, like, there's just a different level of stress. I mean, it sounds selfish to talk about it that way, you know, but there was just a different level of stress you live with when you got like the little ones. It's just hard. It's just like there's a part of your brain that can never turn off when they're that little. It's like everything about them is so breakable, you know? And I just got so tired. And I also thought from a very real perspective that I'm very concerned that, you know, my older daughter is 11 now. And back when we were, you know, thinking about it more often, she was still younger, but like, you know, how old is our oldest going to be? And I was just very concerned that, you know, if we had a third one, we would gain a third child, but I might lose the first. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I thought about it. And there's times I regret it that we don't have 3, especially now that we live in this big old house in the suburbs, you know, but I don't know. Yeah, Andrew Scott says, yeah, man, dogs. Get dogs, like a bunch of them. Maybe. All right. Frank said, SJD did a thing where they kept trying until they got a girl. Yeah, one of my wife's cousins, they had all girls and they kept trying until they got a boy. I think they have like 6 kids. Yeah. I think Seth will, I don't know. I wonder if Seth will have more. All right. And we'll do one more quick question. Michael Gaiman says, running any fall marathons this year? You know, I have a bid for Chicago, and I may use it or I might not. So I have 2 competing interests. Underlying them all is that like I've traveled a lot this summer and I've done a lot of trail running and haven't really been able to prepare properly for a marathon. Not that I couldn't run one, but like it wouldn't be as easy it would be. So I do have a bib for Chicago, and I'm going to break it down this way. If the weather is really good for racing, I think there's going to probably be an American record attempt, or at least a very interesting race with Emily Sisson and Emma Bates, both in the race. I just think that's going to be really fun to watch. So I think I might put my own bib down. And I've never chased pros around the Chicago Marathon course before, and I know the coast really well. I know how to get around Chicago really well, and so I think that'd be really interesting to see if I can do that. If the weather turns out to be like hot and not like American record breaking type of conditions, then I might wear the bib myself and run. Because this year someone will be the 1 millionth Chicago Marathon finisher, and I want it to be me. All right. Where'd it go? Mark says, I think Seth has yet had another since their girl. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think that they would stop at just the girl. And Manorin says he's got 2 girls. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because they've got 4. Do they have 6 now? 4 boys and 2? Do they have 5? How many? I don't know. How many kids do they have? They have a lot of kids. What a blessing. All right. Here's a shoe from Lowa. You guys have been saying that for you guys, Lowa means trails or hiking. But the sticker on this box, I don't know very much about Lowa at all. But the reason why I have these is for the Adidas eyewear run that I'm going with Italy. They said they would send me a pair of these if I wanted to run in these. Which I've mentioned to you guys that Adidas and Adidas eyewear are 2 very different, entities. And so like this is kind of like an example of that. But it does say all-terrain running on them. So therefore all-terrain running. Let's see. Oh, and there's some other things in here too. Some socks. All-terrain running socks by Lowa. I did not know Lowa made socks, but this is nice. Got a booklet. Care tips. Care tips for shoes. Look how, I think that's because there's various languages in here, but there's a lot in here. How to clean them and stuff. And then here's the shoes themselves. Look at this. This is the Lowa Fortux. Fortux. It's got some beefy grip on the outsole. Lowa track tread. Feels like a hiking shoe. But in a running shoe shape. But like on this bottom, feels very stout. So we'll see how this goes. The upper feels kind of reminds me of like an Adidas upper. Like a soccer cleat with the floppy part cut off. Do they make still the floppy part on the top of soccer cleats? I haven't bought soccer cleats in about 25 years. A lot of TPU overlays on this one. Very step up in the toe box. Good for if you got lazy feet like me and accidentally kick things a lot on the trail. So, yeah, they said they were going to send them to me early so that way I have time to test them before I went out. But I don't really want to test them on the trails out here. Now, everything's really muddy and wet. 2 days ago, I tested out a different pair of those Adidas shoes. They're Gore-Tex, but they still got so wet because of water getting in the shoe from the ankle hole where your foot goes in. They're still wet. So like I don't want to bring wet shoes with me to Italy. So, but I'll try these and we'll run with them in the Dolomites. So Frank says they kind of looked heavy. They are as heavy as they look. They're a little bit heavier, but I'm thinking, I'm envisioning that it's the kind of shoe that I need for that kind of trail. So I will trust what I've been given. Calvin says, I see why they sent you it. Lowa is owned by an Italian company since 2019, including another brand you guessed it, Dolomite. Oh, interesting. Sue-Ann says, when are you going to the Dolomites? Sunday. Shannon says they look firm too, like an unripe brick. There are ripe bricks. I'm not sure what that even means. And Martha says my hiking boots in the 60s, 70s weighed a ton. They were Lowas. That was when all hiking boots were made for crossing rivers and more. I feel confident that I could do a stream crossing in these. I feel very confident. Video says you Dolomite go. Yeah. Yeah, you know, we've had this conversation before too. But Dolomite always sounds like a made up word to me. And what's interesting is a lot of the rocks that are in the bluffs that I run in Iowa along the Mississippi, like the western part of Iowa, super flat. When you think like flat Iowa corn, it's that. It like looks like Nebraska. The eastern part along the Mississippi, a lot of bluffs, surprisingly hilly. So like anytime you see me running hills, it's usually that's where I'm at. And all the native, is that the right word? The predominant rock that's there is dolomite. I had no idea. Kind of just looks like sandstone or granite to me, but that's what it is. So we'll see if it reminds me of. Can you imagine how offended the Italians would be if I'm like, oh yeah, I had a wonderful time running in the Dolomites. It reminds me of Eastern Iowa. Andrew Scott says, Dolomite reminds me of Bender from Futurama. I'm 50% Dolomite. See, that's why I think Dolomite is a made-up word. Yeah. Daniel Burns says, "Yeah, don't tell the Italians that the Dolomites remind them of Eastern Iowa." I mean, if it would be, I wouldn't mind if they reminded me of that, but I'm envisioning slightly different vistas. You know, the man who runs says, "I might as well break the spaghetti while I'm saying it." That's so funny. That's funny. Calvin says, "You could just say the Dolomites remind me of home." Yeah, that'd be a nicer way of saying it. I don't suspect that I'll be saying that. Yeah. Adam says it reminds me of J.J. Walker used to say, "Dolomite." No, that's not what he said. Martha says, "Aren't the Dolomites simply the Italian Alps?" I believe so. I mean, where I'm going to be is significant distance away. Because I was like, wait a minute. I'm so bad at geography. And I was like, wait a minute. Am I going to be in Chamonix, which goes through France, Italy, and Switzerland, only to leave and come back 3 weeks later to be on the other side of this mountain? Like I was convinced that like this Adidas eyewear trip was going to take me to like Triant, like the aid station that I went to on Sunday, you know? And then I had to look at it on a map. I'm like, oh, no. These are far away. And then I also was like, you know, here's another geography admission. This is going to be embarrassing. But I was also like, I was looking up at Mont Blanc and looking at the mountain range in Chamonix. And I'm like, which one is the Matterhorn? And I was just like, I don't know which one is the Matterhorn. I'm like, I think that one must be the Matterhorn. I never asked anyone because I'm like, I'm pretty sure the Matterhorn's not here. But there's Mont Blanc. I was like, which one is the one that was on the Price is Right game? You know, with the yodeling climber. Do you remember that one? That's the one that I was like, is that one here? Can I see that one? I don't know. Gowan says, Kobuzi is a true Midwesterner. Goes to an international trip with scenic views and look for similarities to home. That's very true. I had a mentor several jobs ago. This is a long time ago at this point. And we finished up a long trial in Daytona, in Florida. And we're having dinner. It went really well. And he and I are just having a pretty nice dinner to celebrate. And he's like looking through it's at the hotel or restaurant, and we can see through to where the lobby is and the elevators and stuff. And he sees a family coming through, And he goes, oh, some St. Louisans. And I turn around, I'm like, how can you tell? And he's like, you know the thing about people from the Midwest? Do you know how you know they're from the Midwest? I'm like, how? He's like, they'll wear it on their shirt. They will tell you they're from the Midwest. So I was like, oh, that's pretty true. And I like look around and I could see, oh, they're all wearing St. Louis Cardinals shirts. That's how he could tell that they were from St. Louis. Martha says that the Dolomites are adjacent to Austria. We participated in Music Fest in Schlern. It's Italy, but everyone speaks German too. That whole part of the world is very confusing to me. I was like, when I was in Geneva, everyone spoke French, and we had Swiss francs for the currency. And I was like, I was pretty sure everyone was going to speak German over here. I don't know what's going on. But I get it. It's like the languages don't really know borders, but I just felt like by now, I don't know, maybe some of the borders would have like had an effect on some of the languages. I'm that's just so clueless about how all that works out there. But like, I was just so thankful that everywhere I went, people spoke fluent English, absolutely pristine English. I was just like, yeah, didn't matter who you were talking to. They all knew how to speak English really well. So I never had a problem with it. But I'm like, I don't, like anywhere I went, I was like, I don't know how they're going to say hi to me here. But I'm just going to say hello back so they all know. If they couldn't tell already, which they probably could, that I'm an American who doesn't speak any of these languages coming through. I can understand a little bit of French. I think I understand a little bit of conversational French more than I understand conversational German. Conversational Spanish I understand probably the most, but like Italian for some reason. I never studied Italian, so I don't know much about it, even though it's a related language, but at least to the romantic languages. But yeah, I was very happy that everyone spoke English. All right. Sleep Singer has a question that a lot of people have asked me before. I don't know. I'll tell you the answer, but the response I typically get is that it's very disappointing to know the answer. But it's not me saying what's going on at the end of the video. It's just a song that I picked like years ago. There was a time where like the big advice for all the YouTube videos was you have to have an end sequence, so you can put in like all the different like tiles for like watch this video next, and here's a button to subscribe and do all these things. And you'd want to pick music, and I wanted to have the same song at the end of all the videos for that. I still have like that same sequence. Usually it's just like extra footage that I don't know how to use anywhere else, like a snake I found on the trail, or a turtle that I encounter, or deer that I might see, things like that, or me dry heaving after a workout kind of thing. But I've just always used that song, so I still use that same song. So that's how I go about that. Yeah. Martha says, when we were in Schlern and our host spoke no English, I spoke no German, so she would talk in Italian and I'd speak Spanish, and we understood each other. That's amazing. Isn't that pretty cool? I feel like your brain's got to be working overtime when that's happening, right? Like that's just going to be like something really different. I had a hard time when I was in Malaga that one time, and I knew I was in Spain, but I didn't know that Malaga was like a big tourist destination. I had no idea before I went there that it was like that. And like an Aer Lingus flight had just gotten out, and everyone had thick Irish accents. And I was just like, I don't understand what's happening. My brain is broken. Like I'm hearing Irish accents, but I'm in Spain. And no one here seemed to speak English. Although like everyone did speak. Once I left the airport, and people that are speaking English are speaking English. But it was hard. My brain got all weird. All right. Hack on Dartar says, after watching your Puma Deviate Nitro 2 video, I bought Puma shoes for the first time and I really like them. Greetings from Turkey. Well, thanks for letting me know that, Hakan. I'm glad you're liking those shoes. Thanks for taking the time to stop by today. All right. I I think that's a good place to leave it for today, guys. I haven't had a chance to eat lunch today. I'm super hungry. So I'm going to go take care of that now. I got to start packing because I'm going to Europe pretty soon. I'll be there all week. So there will be no live streams next week. Keep an eye out both on... yeah, I'll post it on all the places, and I'll try to do them all simultaneously. As soon as I get the links for the pizza shakeout, I'll follow up to see when I can get that. As soon as I get the links, I'll post them in like all the places you might find them. I'll do a community post on YouTube, both on the Kofuzi Run Club channel and on the YouTube Kofuzi channel. I'll even put it on Threads if any of you guys are over there. I don't think any of you guys are, but I'll put it there. I'll put it on the Kofuzi Run Club Strava group. That'll be the first place. And it'll be on Instagram. I'll make like a little reel or video about it, and then I'll put a link in bio kind of thing. So that'll be there. And then when I get back, I'll have lots of stories from the Dolomites. I'm going to say that every time. Dolomites. And we'll be getting ready for Chicago. It'll be like 3 days before I see like some of you guys by the time I get back. So safe travels to you guys who are all coming into Chicago. I can't wait to see you all. All right. Have fun on your long runs this weekend. Taper well and be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.